Hey, my name is Dale Larson. I'm going to be the librarian for this class, and I'm stoked to work with you all. I think the topic is fantastic. And the country that we're going to be working in, India, India is more of like a metaphor, and it's just like this expanded story, and it's like a universe unto itself. There's so much going on, there's so many people, so many different points of view. I'm very excited. Um, when you are going through this course, I have three objectives among many other objectives. Obviously, a big one's information literacy, but I have them listed out here. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of resources to use. Imagine the population of India and going and asking, taking a survey of like, what's the most interesting movie that you've seen? Um, and you're going to get so many different answers, and it's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be like a flood of information. How do you find the most important thing? How do you narrow down to those trends? In academia, scholarly articles published worldwide, every year there's about 2 million published. And so if you think back for the last 15 years, it's just mind boggling. And so you should be able to access everything, but it can be frustrating. Typically, the problem that I work with students is that students will know exactly what they want to find. They just don't know how to get there. And there's many different ways of approaching it. So that's what my big job is. Second one is research disposition. I want to give you the ability to become something of a researcher, but in the vein that you know how to approach a problem and how not to be intimidated by other people's research, or how to work with your professors who are already doing research. Because you can get this imposter syndrome where you're just like, oh, I don't belong here, I don't belong here. If you have a question, you belong here. This is essentially the scientific method. You have a question, you're looking for a way to um, talk about that with data or experiments or methodology or populations, all that sort of thing. So research disposition is important, and I can help with some confidence exercises. The last thing is what scholarship is all about in academia, and I kind of hinted in the previous one. And this is part of the disposition as well. Scholarship isn't some one person or a group of people knowing everything. Even if you get a Nobel Prize like Dr. Mario Capecchi, you get a street named after you and all sorts of things like that. The scholarly discourse, as it's called, is kind of like this ongoing conversation that's been going on for as long as people have been around, and will be going on furthermore. So it's never taken in like that moment of like, now we've got it. It's kind of like, oh, now we can do this, or if this idea is true, maybe we could experiment with these other ones. So that what's that scholarly conversation all about? And it can be intimidating. So I'm hoping that we'll become less intimidated as we go. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is I'll bring my browser down a little bit. I'm going to show you my first search that I recommend for you. This isn't in part of a library assignment, but there will be a strong emphasis on India, and it could be culture, community, identity, sociology, networks, education. It's like it's everything, isn't it? How do we get like we don't want to narrow it down. We want to like get the context, like what's going on with India. There's lots of cool stuff to read. There's probably a lot of great shows, but my favorite is newspapers. If you go to Google and you type in newspapers of India or some other keywords like that, sometimes you'll get stuff and sometimes it'll kind of be a mishmash. So I want to show you, here's the Dale's librarian trick of the day, which I call contextual searching. So if you can see can I zoom in on that? Oh, I can only zoom in on the browser. Okay. I'll let you zoom in, but if you type in the context that you want to find something in, like for example, newspapers, I'll get rid of India for a second. Anything that you type in there in Google, and I have it loaded onto my search browser, anything that you type in there, when you put a colon after it, that means everything that after here is the keywords and I want to find in this context. So if you did recipes, India, if you did culture, colon, India, but I want to find newspapers, India, um, here's what you get. Google will give you an index of newspapers, and many of them are going to be in English. But what I would recommend is from time to time, just when you're like having your breakfast or you're having a meal and you want to cruise through and just see what's going on, go through. So I'm going to look at the Hindu. And even if it isn't in English, it looks like it's in English. A lot of browsers these days will have translators. I love following Italian newspapers. But you can start to read what's important. So Afghanistan, isn't that interesting? Basis of exclusion of creamy layer can't be purely economic. What does that mean? There might be euphemisms and idioms that don't translate well. It's fun like that. But you'll get a lot of things about sports, or there'll be local things going on. There'll be most recent articles. They're talking about pensions. Here's vaccination progress in India. Go through these newspapers from time to time and see what's important. See who's important, whose names are showing up, who is a celebrity, who can't people get enough of when they're reading things. And so how you do that is newspapers, India, no space. And then you'll get that list of newspapers that you can cruise through. If you're feeling bold, you can start to look for things that you're interested in particular. If it might be an engineering discipline, it could be a particular company that you're interested in that maybe has a presence in India, and so on and so forth. Lastly, maybe I can zoom in on this one. I'm here for your academic career. If you want to, reach out and say hi. I can give tours of the library. I can answer specific questions. I've worked with Dr. Viraganta for several years. So I will be a partner with Dr. Viraganta in this class. And so I'm part of that team, in addition to your PA and Dr. Viraganta, that is helping you engage with the curriculum of this class. So nice to meet you all.